everyone. Welcome back to Mystical Sisterhood. This is your host, Maureen Spielman, and today it is my distinct pleasure to be sitting with Steffani LeFevour, who happens to be less than a mile away from me in her own home in my community. And we met a few years ago when you moved to town. Steffani is a happiness and mindset coach. She has been in the business, and I've got some questions about that, longer than most coaches, I'm thinking that Steffani really got into the field before it was this really blossoming field. So you've seen it as you've gone along in your own practice. You've coached individuals and groups all over the world. You've spoken on some really big stages, and you've written a book, and that is You Are a Badass Mom, which is just a really great title. You're the creator of many, many different groups, which we can talk about too. But I said to you when we were setting the intention that you're a person that I look to that is spreading your messages and your purpose and your work in the world. And you're doing the commitment to your own practices in your daily life, probably pretty much moment by moment. And so let's just jump in there. Welcome. And I had a question about, how you first got into the coaching industry before it was like it is now, but I don't know, where does it feel right for you to start, Steffani?
Yeah. Yeah, I guess I got into the coaching industry through my own life experience and through my desire to figure life out, you know. And I'm a natural person that loved to teach what I was learning. So in my 20s, when I first discovered personal growth and self-expansion and like A Course in Miracles and Taoism and Wayne Dyer and all of that goodness that was out there, I was like consuming it and had to teach it in order to bring it to another level, learn and teach and then learn and then teach. So I wasn't a coach back then, but I was coaching anyone that would listen. And it's so funny because I saw my brother sent me a card that I wrote to him when he graduated high school. So I was like a sophomore in college, and the card that I wrote to him, so I must have been 20. Like I was young when I went to college. I must have been 20 at the time. And the card I wrote to him was like, believe in yourself. Like you can be and do and have anything you want in life. And this step of graduating high school, like I'm so proud of you. And you are meant for great things. And I was reading it going, oh my God, I was 20. It was when I was just launching into this stuff, but I know that was there. Like that rock was there, and I was trying to like discover it and figure it out and break it open and play with it. But like that was there. I was shocked to see that, but I think the people closest to me aren't surprised because that seed was always planted.
I love that. I noticed on your website too that you said something like, I've always been a happiness coach or something along. What did you mean by that?
Yeah. I mean, that's similar to what I was just saying. Like I've always been a happiness coach. That seed was always planted, and much to my family or best friends' dismay, because they'd be like, "Oh, here she comes again." I would say everyone agrees that I've always been a happiness coach, except maybe my sisters, but they're my best clients. Because I think I was always striving to find out what happiness was for myself. Like what does it look like? So I was hiking up a mountain of happiness and coaching other people along the way. Like you don't come to happiness coaching by having a perfectly happy life. Come to happiness coaching because you've endured a lot. You've been through a lot of trauma. You've experienced a lot of hardship. And so you've hiked up a really grueling mountain of happiness that's really steep, that's got a lot of wind and hail, and that's dark, and you're alone a lot. And that's how you get up the mountain, because you got lost along the way too.
Yeah. And I think that's a big reason people are attracted to you, because you're always telling that the more vulnerable side of things, the real side of life, alongside the messages of you really can have it all. And so I hear you saying that where you came from and the experiences you had when you were younger were hard.
Mm-hmm.
And it was really pulling yourself from those places and learning new ways, new tools to implement, just to use with yourself. So you could, was it to feel a different way?
Yeah, I mean, you're so right. You can have it all, even coming from a broken family. You can have it all with a father who's an addict. You can have it all with a negative husband. You can
Hmm.
have it all with, kids going through challenges. You can have it all with no money. Like you can figure it out even amongst the big, hard challenges in life.
Hmm.
Yes.
Yeah.
And I appreciate when any of my mentors or coaches are not only very real about life challenges, but show me how to get to the other side of them, but also apply them to right now.
Hmm.
Like, I don't want any coaches that like don't have any struggles in life
Yeah.
because life's still going to happen.
Hmm.
Our kids still going to have a hard time at school. We're still going to have a neighbor that gets mad at us for parking our car the wrong way. We're still going to have
Yeah.
dispute among in-laws or something, right?
Yes.
That's
Yes.
life. Like we signed up for it.
It's
So
true.
I
Yeah.
love talking about all of that because I'm
Hmm.
not trying to live life without any of that. I'm trying to embrace it all. Like love it all. Find
Yes.
even the gifts in it all. And
Hmm.
to a point where you're like, bring it on. Like
Yes.
what's the
Yes.
next thing that
Yes.
I can be ready for and pull out my tools and use? Because yeah, I think my proudest thing is like creating for myself the toolkit that I need in order to
Hmm.
hike up the mountain
Hmm.
and keeping those tools sharp. And like you
Yeah.
said, using them every day in different ways. Oh, there was a board meeting about schools and the schools are closing. What tools do I have for that?
Yes.
Oh,
Yes.
there's a teacher that like really doesn't get my kid and it's creating a lot of hard times. What's my tool for that?
Yeah.
Oh, my husband's really worried about money and he's spiraling out of control. What's my tool for that?
Hmm.
Right?
Hmm.
Oh, I'm feeling really overwhelmed running a business and managing my household. What's my tool for that? Like the
Yes.
toolkit is
Absolutely.
the really powerful thing is like having that foundation of a
Hmm.
toolkit
Hmm.
and having it sharp and ready
Love it.
because
Yeah.
you can't find a tool and use it once and expect to be good at it.
Hmm.
You don't learn how to play the guitar one day and expect to be good at it.
No.
After
No.
100 days of playing guitar,
Yes.
you're a lot better.
Yep.
You can't learn a language and speak one word and expect to be good at it. After 100 days of practicing the language, you'll be good. So using that toolkit all the time, keeping all these things sharp,
Yeah.
what really, really helps you to get challenge, solution, challenge, solution, challenge, solution, like getting that as small as possible. I thought of it one time was sharing with the ladies in my inner circle, like it's the game of chutes and ladders.
Mhm.
If you're my age, you get the game of chutes and ladders. And you're not trying to have, no ladders, no climbing up, no work, and only chutes,
Mhm.
but you want the ladders and the chutes to be shorter and shorter and shorter. So
Love
that
it.
like when you fall down, you can climb back up quick. You can climb back up quick. So
Yes.
making
Well,
chutes and ladders, yeah.
I love what you're saying. It's so valuable because what it reminds me of is how we really get no training when we're young. So we're
Mhm.
trained, we're conditioned to know that if we study the Spanish for 100 days, we will achieve it. But no one's telling us that
Mhm.
there's this whole area, which is really most of our lives, that there are things out there we can do which are being uncovered more and more every day. But that they're there for us to practice and use. And I think your point to saying it like it is, like Stephanie saying, "Oh, I was triggered in traffic, and then what did I do?" It's not like you're sitting on a mountaintop, like with the,
Mhm.
namaste, like, no, you get someone cut you off, or, something
Mhm.
didn't happen the way you thought it was going to go. So there's so many lessons in this, but I think
Mhm.
that that's a big takeaway is, hey, we're not expected to know this at
Mhm.
all. So
Right.
and when I was preparing just for today and thinking about, you know, looking at your body of work and going further back and thinking about those authors that lit you up at first, that's how it sort of begins, right? And someone's got to be the first person to
Mhm.
light that fire. And even if it's saying, this is how I was triggered last week, and someone says, "What'd you say?" Or it's saying, the
Mhm.
universe really supported me. And someone said, what'd you say? It
Mhm.
really,
Yeah.
that's how it begins. So
Yeah, and it's
yeah.
usually in small incremental changes of that, of "What'd you say? What'd you say?" And, like, leaning into that because
Hmm.
it's not like I'm writing my second book right now, and I was trying to pinpoint, like, the hero's journey, like, the moment when and, like, I can say, "Oh, it was reading A Return to Love by Marianne Williamson in 1992 is what really opened me up
Yeah.
to all this." But it wasn't like, "Oh, the door was closed and then it was open." No, it was
Hmm.
like that book, and then that book, and then that little self-acceptance, and then that little ceremony, and then it led to that book, and then it
Yeah.
led to that, you know, meeting with more people that were into that,
Hmm.
and then, 1 degree shift after 1 degree shift after 1 degree shift, and you start experiencing a completely different trajectory,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
But yeah, it's all of those little, "What'd you say?" And, "Oh, I heard
Hmm.
that. I heard that 3 times, so now I'm gonna follow that." Yeah.
Hmm. Hmm. Yep. I know there's a themes that are your guiding. Who would you say have been your biggest teachers?
I would say Neil Donald Walsh and his books of Conversations with God,
Hmm.
and I've worked with him many times now. I was on a board with him, and, he is definitely, like, resonates with my soul,
And
and
what
a lot of
yeah, I was gonna say, what was so profound about those books?
well, it's funny, I had a lot of resistance to them before I first read them in my, like, late 20s because they had the word God in them, and I
Hmm.
wasn't raised religious, and I was very anti-religion, and then the first time I heard them, I listened to it on cassette tape. A
Hmm.
friend loaned them to me on cassette tape on my Walkman. I was flying to Colorado, to visit a friend, and I pressed play, and everything that it said in Conversations with God, book 1, about spirituality and
Yeah.
about, it's non-denominational and about, like, our soul's journey, I was going, "Yes.
Hmm.
Oh my gosh, yes, yes." So,
Hmm.
it just so resonated with my soul. I'd
Yep.
never heard anything like that in church or religion or anywhere from anyone until I listened to that cassette
Yes.
tape.
Well, I'm gonna insert something before you go to your next teacher, because when I went through my health journey, that's what I call it, 5 years ago, you gave me Conversations with God. And I was still at that point, my relationship with God, my religion, what I had grown up with, I had largely put Catholicism to the side, but me and that word God were not really jiving. So I looked at it, and like you said, I didn't really get it. It couldn't translate for me. So recently, and this is what I love about all these books, because I tend to pick them up too, and I'll pick them up 2 weeks, 2 months, 2 years later, and I'll be like, I read this, and it will
Yeah.
speak to my heart and soul again. So recently, my son was moving into an apartment up in Madison, and my dad, a few years back, had given us two shorter bookcases. And I said, hey, Ben, do you want to take one of these bookcases? Sure, Mom. And it was down here in the basement. And I took the books off it, and Conversations with God like flies out and flies
Mhm.
out. And I said, oh, and because I've healed my relationship
Yeah.
with the word God, and no longer do I see any of those really words in a dualistic sense anymore. It's more about oneness. So then I could read it now. Really,
Mhm.
it's probably 5 years later. So thank you. And
Oh,
it
great.
isn't, and that's like it's such a good example of literally a book flying off the
Yeah,
shelf.
yeah. That's so funny. I don't even
So,
remember giving you that book.
yes,
I mean,
yes.
was it
Yep.
book 1 or was it a different one?
I think it was
Or
a
What God
different
Wants?
one. It might even
Yeah.
be back here.
It was
Um,
probably What God Wants or
yeah.
the one
I bet
about change.
this one back here is Home with God,
Uh-huh.
and a life. It's right
Life That
here.
Never Ends. Yeah, yeah. That's a
Yes.
really good one.
So,
Mhm.
but that was that seed, but that was also there for me to then, this many years later,
Mhm.
discern.
Yeah, yeah.
Because I remember my good friend Alicia asking me in an Akashic Records class, it was the
Mhm.
same question. What's your relationship with God, higher power, source, whatever you call it? And I'm like, I don't have any. And so, it's like to
Mhm.
be compassionate when any of us and your students and, people I coach, when when a question is posed and you don't yet have the answer, that's okay. That's
Yeah.
okay. It's
Mhm.
where you are. That's perfect for where you
Yes.
are.
Yeah.
So it's so good.
Yeah, beautiful. I had that
Yeah.
same experience with Eckhart Tolle's work when it was first introduced to me. I was like on cassette tape back then. When I was like, he talks so slow. How
Hmm.
can anybody understand this? It makes no sense. What is he talking about?
Yeah.
And later, coming to it, it was like dropped in, downloaded, loved it all. And it was the same book, but
Hmm.
years
Hmm.
later, just really resonated.
Yeah.
Mhm.
Yeah. I love that. So, and then who else would you say?
Well, Byron Katie is definitely one of
Mm,
the biggest teachers and mentors because I found her work 20 years ago and got it so taught me how to turn my thoughts around. It's like
uh,
really psychoanalysis. Like you can look at your thoughts and you can work on it and change your thinking and change your perspective and change your reality just from looking at
yes.
thought in such a powerful and profound way. So I went down the rabbit hole and I got trained as a facilitator in that. So I was like, this can do this for me. I want to go as deep in it as I can
Hmm.
and be able to help other people with it. So her work is like the work for
I
me.
love that. I love it. Yeah.
Yeah, I love Marianne Williamson and her interpretations of A Course in Miracles and her first book, A Return to Love. I just
Mm,
was the first book that taught me about love and forgiveness and to look at life from more of a soul perspective. It was like a huge awakening for me because I was like,
mhm,
what? People are talking about this, people are doing this actively.
mhm,
And I really love Mike Dooley because he was my first sort of law of attraction teacher, coach,
mhm, mhm.
personal coach. Like each of those people I have studied under and, met and done work with personally. They're not just authors in my life, but
Yeah.
just authors in your life can do that. But I've developed even a closer, more personal relationship with their work than just their books. But
I
yeah,
love that.
I
Okay.
mean,
So then as you were going along your journey and kind of like getting into a lot of the work that you do and provide to people, okay, so this idea that our thoughts become things. Can we just start there and talk about our thoughts as vibrations and how, like, what is the kind of the sciency or the foundation of the thought that we create our reality with our thoughts?
I mean, quantum physics can be studied and says that what you focus on, you create more of.
Mm,
In science,
mm-hmm.
there's the observer effect. What the observer is thinking and expecting, most likely that observer creates. So, science backs spirituality
Yeah.
now more than ever
Mm-hmm.
before, right?
Mm-hmm. Yes.
The fact that it's not on the cover of every newspaper and magazine is shocking to me because it is so proven
Mm-hmm.
that not just our thoughts, our feelings, our beliefs, our stories, all of those things attract and create more. So our thoughts create our reality,
Yeah.
in its basic form. It is what we think about, we place orders for.
Mm-hmm.
When we think, we energetically align with the things that we're thinking.
Yeah.
And so in my world of this and in my interpretation of this, our thought puts out an order and our feelings attract it back in.
Yeah. Okay. I
And
like
so,
that. Yeah.
yes,
Mm-hmm.
we are thinking and feeling and thinking and feeling. And that can get confused because I was just at tennis the other day, and this girl on my tennis team said, "Okay, Stephanie, like I need your coaching help." And I was like, "Oh yeah, what?" I mean, we're just like running around doing a drill, and she goes, I need to find a way to manifest, some more wins in my game. Like, and I didn't know this, but I sort of knew, but I didn't know the whole, but she'd had a series of losses, right?
Mm-hmm.
And so I said, oh, okay, like, I love it when people ask me advice, I'm like, okay, great. What can I do? And she was like, I need your coaching around, my tennis game. And I said, well, in its simplest form, what you bring to your game, you'll get out of your game.
Mhm.
Right. And she goes, oh, okay, yeah, yeah. And then she goes, but, you know, I have a winning mindset. And I was like, oh, yes, yes. Here's the thing about our thoughts become things. You can't just have a winning mindset. You
Mhm.
can't just think your way out of your feelings and your story. Your story, if the
Right.
story that you're bringing is, I lose, no matter what happens, I lose. You can't have a winning mindset. You can't out mindset your story.
So that's why it's the
Yes.
all the
It's your
things.
thoughts, your words, your
Yes.
feelings, your stories, your beliefs, all of that creates. And we can't just outthink something. Thinking helps, having a
Mhm.
winning mindset helps. But what I helped her get to, in a very simple conversation, but I was thinking about this later, and I was like teaching it to my inner circle ladies afterwards, going, hey, this is a great thing that applied today to tennis, and here's how you can apply it to life. Um, you know, what you need to do there is you got to change your story.
Yeah.
So instead of just, I think we oversimplify manifesting and law
Mm.
of attraction when we go, oh, our thoughts become things. Because she's like, my thoughts are on winning. I go and I think I'm going to win. But the story that she's carrying with her to that
Yeah.
game is all the times I've lost. Holy shit, it better not happen again. I've
Yeah.
lost, I've lost, I've lost, I've lost. I have 6 losses, and no matter what court I play on, even if I play people who I'm better than, I still lose. You're carrying that story, you can't outthink it. So what I teach is
Yeah.
you got to change that story.
Okay.
And so what I said to her when she was like, oh, I have a winning mindset. And I was like, oh, okay, you have a winning mindset, but your story is,
Mm.
I keep losing. I said, what you got to do is you got to focus on your wins.
Mhm.
So it's easy in tennis, there's game and then set and then match, right? So how many games did you win? How many
Mhm.
sets did you win? How many points did you win yourself? How many shots did you take that were awesome? Focus on that.
Mhm. Okay.
That will get you to win more games. Because right now you're focusing on your losses. Even though there's all these wins, you're
Mhm.
focusing on your losses. So you're bringing
Mhm.
losses to the game.
Yeah, it feels
You
like
gotta
it's
focus. Yeah.
and it feels like it's to do with the energy of it too.
Yep.
I'm thinking about how you had put like the top 3 things people do to get in their way of manifesting. They say like, but I'm trying to manifest, or I'm doing it. I'm doing all the things. And the one that stood out to me was complaining.
Oh, yeah.
And tell me about complaining. And
I mean, it is, if there's one thing that's stopping people from getting what they want, it's complaining, because complaining has the energy of lack. It's a thought about what you don't want. It has an energy that you don't want. It doesn't align you with what you want. It aligns you with what you don't want.
yeah.
So every time we complain, even if it's just we're complaining because it's the more comfortable thing to do. Oh, the weather on Halloween, it was so rainy or whatever.
Mhm.
We're in a vibration, an alignment with things that we don't want.
Mhm.
So stopping
Yeah.
complaining is the number one thing, because we can't, you know, out manifest our complaints. We got to stop
Yeah.
the complaints first.
So I'm thinking of when we're in that complaining role, there's 2 parts that come to me, that it is the victim mentality that life is happening to you, not for you. But
Mhm.
also there's that component of it when someone is holding the energy, let's just call it, of complaining.
Mhm.
It's also the energy of wanting to process something. So what do you tell to your clients that are how
Mhm.
to like almost like either shift that energy or be with themselves and be with it in a different way? Because I also think habits we have, whether it's for me, one I've had to break is just spending too much time on the phone that gets in the way of my doing my work. But that's a habit, right? And I told myself for a long time, oh, you do it, you're doing it again, you're doing it again, you're doing it again. So it's very lack based. I'm making progress in it, by the way. But that example of just needing to go in and kind of change that. But I lost my train of thought a little bit there.
Well, yeah, you were
You got
talking about
me.
complaining and what what people say when they say like, but I need to vent,
Yeah.
right? That's
Right.
always the
Right.
biggest
Yes.
question is, okay, but I need to vent and it's healthy to vent and it's healthy to feel all my feelings. Well, and sometimes I'm like, well, vent away if you want more of those things.
Mhm.
But if you don't want more of those things, then don't vent.
Yes.
And
Mhm.
of course, if you can't not, then the key is keep it brief.
Mhm.
Very, very brief, as
Yeah.
minimal as you can. And don't give it a lot of emotion. So I do a complaint-free challenge at the beginning of all of my courses and trainings because it's the number one thing that we want to turn around in
Mhm.
order to start manifesting. And so during those complaint-free challenges, we focus on there's always a way to vent or to state something that is an observation or a fact, but not a complaint. You know, if I have my kid at school and he's having a really hard time with the teacher, and I want to say to the teacher, I feel like you're being extra hard on him. There's a way to do that articulately without a complaint. If
Mhm.
I'm like, how dare you? You are so awful at this. Like, that's a complaint, right? I'm using exaggerated words. I'm getting into a feeling of emotion of
Yeah.
it. That's
Mhm.
what we want to avoid.
Yeah.
But not complaining doesn't mean that we just have to be a doormat and like sit around and take
Right.
stuff we shouldn't
Yes.
be tolerating.
Yeah.
You can
Mhm.
say, you know what? To that teacher, I feel like you're being hard on him. That's not a complaint. That's an observation. It
Yeah.
looks like to me, in
Mhm.
my experience, that you're being hard on him.
Mhm.
So, what can we do in order to improve this relationship? That's not a complaint. Like
Right.
people always end up saying, like,
Yes.
but if someone's mistreating you, you can, I go, no, you can be articulate. You can even be angry and not complain. You can say, this makes me really upset. If you're purposeful and articulate, that's different than a complaint. A complaint
Yeah.
has emotion. A complaint has a fixed mindset. A
Mhm.
complaint doesn't have a solution focus. So yes, we can change it to be an observation or a statement or a fact instead of a complaint. And if you must complain, you keep it really brief. You
Mhm.
go, oh, I'm so overwhelmed right now lately. I'm so overwhelmed. Oh my God. Okay. Let me shake that off and let me climb back up and let me focus on what I do want.
Yeah.
Because brevity is magic when it comes to that kind of stuff. Because we're never gonna not complain. We're never gonna not have a mini pity party. We're never gonna not go, oh my God, my husband is so negative. How did I attract this guy? We might still go there, but the point and goal is to keep it as brief as
I love
possible.
that. That's
Because
good.
I'm not gonna keep
Mhm.
focusing on it because I don't want more of it. And if
Yes. And
we
yeah.
an order to the universe, then the universe goes, what's that? Your husband's negative? Okay, cue the negative husband. Make sure that everything she sees is how negative he is. Wait, she just did it again. Make it bigger. Make it bigger. Make it before work and after work. Yes. Okay, she just said it again. Make sure that he calls her and texts her negative things.
Mhm.
That's what it's doing.
So it's a mirror. It's a
It's an
mirror.
order. Yes,
It's an
it's
or
an order that is immediately fulfilled. Mhm.
Oh my gosh. It makes us laugh, right? And but when we're in, but I'm
That's what
hearing
we're
you say,
doing.
and it moves someone from disempowered to empowered. So the brevity is
Yes.
good. I like
And
that.
the friend who was, with the tennis matches,
Mhm.
cue the match, make sure she loses. Like
Yeah.
there's a story because I was talking to another friend about it. There was a story that was like, oh, and I played with her once, and it was like we lost the first match and then we won the second match, and then like something happened
Yeah.
where like literally they got interrupted in the middle of the game that they were up and they ended up losing. Like it was like the universe conspired to
Yes.
make her lose another match, you know?
Right.
Like that's how powerful we are.
Mm.
That's how
Mhm.
strong the universe listens to our orders. It gets instantly delivered in a very powerful way. So
Oh,
be careful
yes.
what you complain about. And be careful what you wish for because it's all placing orders, right?
Mhm. 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 And it's and to give ourselves compassion because it's all a retraining of
Yep.
it's our essential nature. We were born this way and then trained away from it. So it's remembering and relearning.
Yeah, and it's good to remember that we have like a negativity bias. We are wired for negativity. I
Mm,
hate knowing that, but it's the facts. Like when I would, learn that and read books on that, I'd go, no, 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 I want it to be different. I want us to
mhm,
be wired for happiness. I want us to be wired for positivity, but we're not because, we have this fight or flight brain and we're wired to keep ourselves safe and to protect and to be suspicious and to,
yeah,
be aware. And so we are wired for negativity. We have to
mhm,
rewire ourselves for positivity. It takes work.
mhm,
It takes
mhm,
tools.
mhm,
It takes consistency. It takes new habits. So I do find some empowerment in that too, to go,
yeah,
oh, okay, I'm not broken. You know,
mhm,
we are all this way. And yet I'm empowered to change that. We have neuroplasticity. We can change that wiring. But to know that, oh, this is how the computer is hardwired. Okay, well, I can rewire the computer and I can put in all this software, all these tools to make the hardwiring different.
mm,
That's good to know
mhm,
and
mhm,
empowering, like you said.
yeah, and that how we are also conditioned to be hard on ourselves.
Mm-hmm.
What do you say to the person who's like, got it, got it? Because I think that's the nature of learning. We learn something, we get excited about it, we start
Mm-hmm.
to practice it, we forget. And so is that just a simple, like, just give yourself that, okay, that's where you are. Pick yourself back up again, begin again. And sort of
Yeah, I
that,
mean, it's
yeah,
like that. You can't expect to play the guitar once every three
yeah.
weeks and then
Hmm.
expect to be good at the guitar. I mean, it's consistency is key in learning.
Yeah.
When we pick up these personal growth books or we take a course or we do a 5-day challenge, it really comes down to how can I consistently, you know, embed this into my everyday life. Yeah. And for me, that takes, the tools and the community and accountability. I mean,
Hmm.
accountability is how I have achieved everything that I've ever desired. And accountability doesn't have to look like getting a happiness coach or joining a mastermind. It can look like having the right app on your phone that
Hmm.
helps you consistently have gratitude every morning.
Love
It
that.
can
Yeah.
be, the right online coach who gets you working out every day.
Hmm. Hmm.
Accountability is a key because we're so wired for the other thing. We can't
Yeah.
expect ourselves to always have the self-discipline and self-motivation to do it all on our own. We all have those intentions, right? We're like, okay, I heard about this new green juice and I want to make it every morning. Right. Well, you got to go out, you got to buy the stuff, you got to get the green juicing machine, but then you
Hmm.
also have to work in the new daily habits of how you're going to prioritize that and
Hmm.
make it an everyday thing.
Hmm.
Yeah, it takes
Yes,
a lot of work and
I know. Yeah.
accountability is key.
And it's possible. I think that that's why I always see on your Instagram, it's like the daily dose, you say,
Mhm.
and it's kind of
Mhm.
like the things that keep you grounded, on track,
Mhm.
forward moving, able to support yourself, support your kids, support women, everything.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
Daily doses
Mm,
of the tools, daily doses of the things that light you up, daily doses of reminding you of who you are and your power, daily
yeah.
doses of confidence, daily doses of challenge because it creates
Hmm.
change. Yeah, daily doses is sharpening your tools. Hmm.
I would say too, when women begin to learn, when they're in your groups, or I don't even know if you individually coach much anymore, but is it just so beautiful to see the blossoming and then the opening and transformation that occurs right before your eyes?
Yeah, it's why I do this because
Mhm,
I'm in it for the transformation.
mhm,
Like you don't get into this work for the money. You don't get into this work for the recognition. Like you're in it for the transformation. Like for the women that go, oh, wow, like my relationship is easier. And that go, I would have responded years ago like
yeah,
this. And now I'm
yes,
responding like this.
mhm,
And I'm teaching it to my friend. And
mhm,
my family is noticing that I'm a different person. And I used to create so much drama and I used to complain and I don't even attract that anymore. And now I'm winning at tennis. I
yeah.
mean anything. It's like
Right,
So it's such a big array of the how we transform when we
Mhm.
start doing this work. Yes, we start manifesting our lives consciously to be shaped about what we want, right? We
Mhm.
create a new roadmap and we start going down that road. It is beautiful and fascinating. And I have so many stories of like my clients over the years like manifesting really cool things, and from like one of my clients who was a pilot and she wanted to ultimately take helicopter lesson training, helicopter flying lessons, and buy her own helicopter, and she put it on a vision board in one of my masterminds, and like a year and a half later she's like, I just
Yeah.
bought the helicopter that was on my vision.
Mhm.
Like
Mhm.
some really tangible fun things like that. And like I manifested a lake house, and to the things that are like my relationship was on the verge of divorce and we've never been in a better place.
Mm.
Or, I look at my children in a different way than ever before because, I used to be controlling and they used to trigger me. And now I just radically accept them for who they are.
Love
And
that.
I'm just such a more grateful and loving mom.
Mhm.
So those things aren't as measurable. They're not like a big tangible thing, but they are
Yeah.
everything when it
Yeah.
comes to our life experience.
Yeah,
You
the quality. Well, the fact that I was going to mention, named your book, You Are a Badass Mom. And it's funny, I remember looking at some of your material like a while back, and I think I saw a video of you and your husband with Dr. Shafali. Is that right? Was it like it was some
Mhm.
round table discussion?
Yeah, it
So
was a life class with Oprah.
okay. Yeah.
Yeah.
And so then many years ago,
Mhm.
you then look towards your parenting. And I was, oh, so you're raising your kids in this home that's infused with a lot of consciousness. And how does that go when you're raising two? You've got two teens now?
Yeah, 12 and 15. Yeah.
Do you see them? I mean, I know with my younger son, now it's like all these messages are laid out on the table and he's listening, and
Mhm.
everything we do is filled with more intention than ever. So I think
Mhm.
it's a beautiful message to bring to the listeners today just about our children,
Mhm.
and where they are really needing this. And I don't know if you're seeing
Yeah.
any changes within the schools these days, or yeah.
I wish I was seeing more.
Hmm.
Um, we're raising our kids with both, I would say.
Hmm.
The both ends of the spectrum because my husband is so radically different than me.
Yeah.
And not that I'm better and he's worse. We're not. He has a very different, more realistic, more hard knocks view on life. And I have a much more open-hearted, up-leveled, limitless spiritual perspective,
Hmm.
right?
Hmm.
And so what I think is so beautiful is my kids get to see that and they get to
Yeah,
choose where they want to fall along that spectrum, you
that's
know?
right. It's
I mean,
pretty.
imagine
Hmm.
only giving them this side.
Hmm.
I think that'd be beautiful, but that's because
Yeah.
I'm over here.
Right.
Imagine only giving them this side. My husband thinks that's what they need
Yeah.
because this is how you raise children. So I love the fact that they get to see both. And,
Hmm.
as much as I want to empower my husband in his strength to be the best version of him that he can possibly be, I'm not necessarily trying to get him over here,
Yeah.
you know,
Yeah.
because I don't know that that would honestly benefit my kids in the long run. I
Mhm.
know that they chose me and John
Mm.
for this,
Both sides. Well,
for
and
both sides,
and
for
the
the whole ride.
continuum. It's a continuum, right?
Yeah.
Um, I
Mhm.
love that. In you modeling seeing him, then he's gonna
Mhm.
see you more. So it's a
Mhm.
beautiful blending. I like
Yeah.
that you pointed it out and said that, because I think um a lot of people are living with a partner who's, it seems, polar opposite, but it's not the way we need to look at it. It's different styles coming in. We're coming from different families. How can we respect each other and
Mhm.
blend them, and at the same time use your voice for what's most important for you
Yeah.
to
Right.
express? Hmm.
Right. I hope in
Yeah.
the end that I am modeling for my kids radical acceptance
Hmm.
and boundaries,
Hmm.
like balance between radically accepting them and everyone in my life. I radically accept everyone exactly as they are,
Yeah.
and the boundaries to keep me safe and sane and to fulfill my greatest life, you know?
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
So I hope I'm modeling for them those boundaries and that they're learning that within, how to have radical acceptance for, their teachers and their coaches they might love and they might hate, radical acceptance for their friends exactly as they are,
Yeah.
and the boundaries that, like, if that doesn't work for you, you leave the friendship,
Mm-hmm.
that
Mm-hmm.
doesn't, if the coaching doesn't work for you, but you want to stay on the team, you got to learn
Yeah.
how to deal with your coach,
Mm-hmm.
like,
Yeah.
yeah, I mean, I hope I'm modeling all that. My kids are so I've never loved this parenting journey more than I do
Mm.
as teenagers.
Yeah.
It is my favorite. And I don't know if it's just because of all this work that I've done for so long, but I can't get enough of them right now.
Yeah.
I love it. And they're so not easy and they're not,
Mm-hmm.
but I love it.
Mm-hmm.
I'm like so ready for every challenge that is coming up. And like,
That's
it's just
great.
really great.
I
Mm-hmm.
know. I was thinking of them when we were talking about your greatest teachers, because our kids, our
Mm-hmm.
partners, our own
Oh, yeah.
parents, they're all our
Yes.
best teachers, aren't they?
Right.
Yeah.
Right. All three of them, put them up to the top of the list of all that. John and
You're
Jackie.
like, knock
Yeah.
Wayne Dyer out of the way.
Not, yeah. Wayne Dyer's gone. Neil Donald
Yeah.
gone. Those three. Oh, yeah.
Oh, it's so good. I do think it's because of the work that you've done that you're enjoying these relationships so much, because that's I think where I came from, I had a real lack of boundaries, and I knew from when I had the kids, I didn't know anything about conscious parenting. I had a friend who she's the director of Smart Love Family Services. I've said this before, but it was all like really about um just unconditionally loving your children, and to put it in a nutshell. And I wanted that so badly, but I didn't have the skills to do it. So I went through a lot of my life not knowing the skills, and that's okay too, because even if we find ourselves and our kids are in their 20s or wherever they are, it's always the right time. I don't want to say it's never too late. It's always the right time to begin learning something new. And
Mhm.
relationships can shift and transform at any time. Um,
Mhm.
I
When
agree.
we
I
change
agree with
the
you.
story,
Hmm.
when we change the story about relationships, in my opinion, are not beyond the laws of manifesting.
Hmm.
We often think they are, like, oh, well, my husband is like this, or my kids are like this, and so I can't change them.
Yeah.
No, you can change the story that you have about
Hmm.
your relationship with them.
Hmm.
And when we change that story, we change our reality. And things
Absolutely.
start to look very different. And did they change or did we change? Like, who knows? Or,
Yeah.
did they soften or we soften? But the reality with that person can change when we're willing to change our story and see things differently.
Ooh, there's a lot in there to unpack.
Mhm.
I was going to say, with relationships, whether it's someone's partner or it could be a sibling that someone's kind of having conflict with, what's your idea about soul contracts, and or a friend you've had for a long time that's not really working well for you anymore? Like, how do you feel like soul contracts is this idea that they
Well, I'm
are.
writing a book right now called Soul Assignments. So I have a lot to say about soul contracts, which I guess is similar. I
Hmm.
mean, in my experience, soul assignments are some pre assigned things that our soul decided to experience in order to advance our soul.
Hmm.
So I had a soul assignment to sign up to be with my dad, my mom, and my dad. I believe all of our, parents, we choose
Yeah.
for the progression of our soul. So we choose our parents for soul assignments. I had a soul assignment to lose my sister at a young age,
Hmm.
right? That kind of big, like, overwhelmingly traumatizing, hard experience can't be anything other than a soul assignment.
Yeah.
It happened for me, it happened
Hmm.
through me
Hmm.
so that I might X, Y, and Z,
Yeah.
explore spirituality, like learn about loss at a young age, like know how to grieve and help other people grieving. Um, so we have certain soul assignments, like my meeting and my kindergarten bestie,
Hmm.
and having many decades of a friendship with her was a soul assignment. And divorcing her on my 50th birthday was a
Hmm.
soul assignment.
Hmm.
You know? So I believe we have soul assignments, and there's a difference between a soul assignment, call it a soul assignment or a soul contract, whatever, and soul creation. Like, I created this friendship with you and I. I
Mhm.
don't know that we had a soul assignment. I know we created this because
Mm.
we are like-minded,
Mhm.
right?
Mhm.
I created some other amazing friendships to come into my life when I divorced that friend because I had a desire for
Mm.
friends that met my standards,
Yeah. Yeah.
you know,
Yep.
and she didn't meet my standards anymore. I created the house I now live in and built it. It wasn't a soul assignment, for me to have this
Mhm.
house or build this house, right? And I created this job that I have that I do.
Mhm.
It's coaching and teaching.
Totally.
It wasn't a soul assignment. Like, maybe I have a soul assignment to be an author or
Mhm.
teach, but I created the job that I now have.
Love it.
So,
Yeah.
yeah, I
Mhm.
think we have these soul assignments, but I don't think we are victim to them at all.
Mhm.
I think the key is to recognize our soul assignments, radically accept them,
Mm. Good.
and harness the power of them, find the gifts within them, so that every soul assignment, good or bad, we see the gifts in.
Yeah.
And that gives us power to then
Mhm.
consciously create soul creation.
So, I love it. It's inspiring. I'm excited for the book. Really
Yeah,
excited.
I'm going to finish it by the end of this year, and I'm going to shop it around to publishers. I have a book agent that's really excited about it. So that's my
Beautiful.
big, yeah. And it's happening through me. Like, as much as I
Yeah.
sometimes I go, I don't know, it's a lot and I can't. And I try and pump the brakes and it just goes. So yeah,
Yes.
it's going to
Yes.
happen. Mhm.
Well, I think that one time when we were spending some time together, you had mentioned how in the beginning of the day you'll, say like a invitation or well, what am I meant to learn today, or what am I meant to know today, or what's meant to kind of even channel through me today.
Mhm.
And I
Mhm.
love that. I love that kind of
Yeah.
just I always think
Nice word.
about it like
Yeah. Mm.
communing with the universe, right?
Yeah.
We're conversing, we're relating, and it's fun.
Yeah. Yeah. Show me how. Hmm.
Mhm, mhm.
Yeah.
Yeah. So, to this conversation, I don't know if there's anything that comes to mind as we kind of close things out that we haven't. I know there's just a million things that we haven't covered.
Yeah. But we covered a lot of good stuff.
Yeah.
Really exciting. Um, I mean, I think the bottom line is that we are conscious creators.
I
And,
do too.
I say to my kids every night, you're the light, you're meant for greatness. You can be and do and have anything you want in this life, you know? Because years ago, I was like, why am I not embodying this into my
Yeah,
family? Why am I
I
not
agree.
saying this to my children? Why am I
Mhm.
not being this? I'm doing this with these women over here. And then I'm going to my kids, get in bed. Come on, get off the lights. Like,
Right.
there's a disconnect
Yes.
here. So that's the big message, right? We are the
Mhm.
light. We're meant for great things. We can consciously create anything we want. We can be and do and have anything we want in this life. And I
Absolutely.
think the journey is just to be reminded of that all the time and
Yeah.
live in that space.
Beautiful. Thank you. I know when this episode airs, we're going to be right at the beginning or in between the holiday season. It'll be right in the beginning of December. Is there
Cool.
any special message you give to women as we or any individual listening that as we close out the year, or ways we can bless, or just anything that's a tradition to you at that time of year? I love the how we see endings and beginnings. Mhm.
Um, I don't know. I mean, I'm constantly focusing on how I can gain power through reflection, through wisdom, and through service. And I know at that time of year, we're more focused on service than ever before, but like doing that all the time. I love the end of a year because we can reflect and look at what went well and what didn't. Like, I've done that for decades and I do that within my programs and stuff. What went well, what didn't, what do I want to do less of? What do I
Yeah.
want to do more of? Right. And then consciously planning the next year, because people don't do that. then they spend more time planning one vacation and they don't plan their year or their 5 years or their life.
Mhm.
So I really, really, really encourage you, anyone to plan more of your days, plan your years, plan your life, because otherwise years go by and we don't do it.
Yes,
So
I agree.
look
Yes.
at the end of the year as a beautiful way to reflect and to plan, for the future so that we
Yeah.
can make this life, everyday life, more sacred.
Mm.
It's
Mhm.
available to us, if we're just awake to it.
Yeah. Thanks for spreading your messages. I love it. Where can listeners find you, Steffani?
They can find me on Instagram, Coach with Steph with
Yeah.
2 F's, and coachwithsteph.com is my website. And I have lots of
Mm.
free resources and stuff on there.
Well, and I may have said it early in the podcast today, but I love your Instagram because that you really do give a lot of takeaways. They're like short and sweet, but you can just take them and go apply them to your life, practice them, try them out, pick up your kid from school, play with it, any
Mhm.
of the above. And I think that's really helpful. And I think that's what people are really looking for these days. So it's a good
Mm.
Instagram, Coach with Steph.
Good. Thank you.
Okay. Well, thank you. And thanks to the listeners for being here as always. And we'll see you in the next episode.
Thank you. You're so great at this. It was awesome.
Thanks, Steffani. Thanks for listening to this episode of Mystical Sisterhood. To learn more about my one-on-one coaching programs or join the Mystical Sisterhood membership, visit MaureenSpielman.com or MysticalSisterhood.com. Thanks so much. I'll see you in the next episode.